Rulers and buildings, part 2 of this chapter. So today we are going to start with the topic temple construction in the early 11th century. Early 11th century. Here we'll discuss about two figures 3 and 4. In figure 3, A and B, both of the parts of this temple, Kandariya Mahadeva temple, right? This temple is, you can see in the picture 3A, this figure, and this temple was constructed by the king Dhangadeva of Chandela dynasty in 999 AD, and it is dedicated to Shiva, god Shiva. This is the plan or draft of this temple. You can see in this figure with the ornamented gateway led to an entrance, and the main hall, it is called, main hall was called Maha Mandapa, and here dances were performed. The image of chief deity, means Lord Shiva, was put or kept in the main shrine. It was known as Garbhagriha. This was the place for ritual worship where only the king, his immediate family and priest gathered. The Khajuraho complex, you can see, contained royal temples where commoners were not allowed entry. The temples were decorated with elaborately carved sculptures. After that, this figure number 4, you can see in this picture, very beautiful temple is there. This one, Raja Rajeshwara temple, situated at Tanjore, had the tallest shikhara at that time amongst temples of its times. Constructing it was not easy because there were no cranes in those days like this time, and 90-ton stone for the top of the shikhara was too heavy. It was too heavy to lift manually. So think, dear students, how this kind of heavy material reached at the top, right? So the architects built an inclined path like this to the top of the temple, placed the boulder on the rollers and rolled it all the way to the top. The path started more than 4 kilometers away. Why? So that it would not be too sleepy like this, right? So this was dismantled after the temple was constructed, but the residents of the area remember the experience of the construction of the temple for a long time. So even now a village near the temple, this temple called Charupallam, the village of incline, right? The people, their ancestors learned the experience during the construction of this temple. So dear students, now let's start next topic of this chapter: building temples, mosques and tanks. See, temples and mosques were beautifully constructed because they were places of worship. The temples were the places where the people used to go to worship their god. Today also, you can see, they were also meant to demonstrate the power, wealth and devotion of the patron. Means contemporary kings used to show their power, wealth and devotion to the patron. Take the example of Raja Rajeshwara temple. An inscription mentions that it was built by King Raja Rajadeva for the worship of his god. Who god? Raja Rajeshwaram. So names, you can see that names are similar. Raja Rajadeva or Raja Rajeshwaram, same kinds of names are there. Why the kings used to have same kinds of names, similar kinds of name to their deity or the gods? Because the king took the god's name, it was auspicious, and he wanted to appear like a god. Through the rituals of worship in the temple, one god, Raja Rajadeva, honored another god, Raja Rajeshwaram. So in this way you have to understand that the kings used to have the names like their gods. The largest temples were all constructed by kings. The other lesser deities in the temples were gods and goddesses of the allies and subordinates of the rulers. The temple was a miniature model of the world ruled by the king and his allies. As they worshipped their deities together in the royal temples, it seemed as if they brought the just rule of the gods on earth. So this was the symbol of their power. Muslim sultans and padshahs did not claim to be incarnations of God, but Persian court chronicles described the sultan as shadow of God. Although we have studied that during the Muslim dynasties, especially in the Sultanate age, they did not claim to be incarnations of the God, but later they were explained by the Persian courts or chronicles, shadow of God. An inscription in the Quwat al-Islam mosque explained that God chose Alauddin as a king because he had the qualities of Moses and Solomon, the great lawgivers of the past. These were two lawgivers. You have to remember the names, Moses and Solomon. These were the great lawgivers of the past time. The greatest lawgiver and architect was God himself. He created the world out of chaos and introduced order and symmetry. You can see in the figure 7 plan of the Jama Masjid built by Shah Jahan in his new capital at Shah Jahanabad 1650 to 1656. It took approximately 16 years. So here you can see Qibla, direction towards Mecca, Qibla. West towards west, this is the direction known as Qibla. Right towards Mecca. Mecca is the holy place of Muslims. Clear? After that, as each new dynasty came to power, kings wanted to emphasize their moral right to be rulers. Constructing places of worship provided ruler with the chance to proclaim their close relationship with God. Especially important is in an age of rapid political change. Whenever the political change used to be there, so the king used to do these kinds of activities, and rulers also offered patronage to the learned and pious and tried to transform their capitals and cities into great cultural centers that brought fame to their rule and their realm. So this was the system, this was the thing, special cause behind this. Importance of water, the Persian terms abad, populated, prosperous, and abadi, flourishing, are both derived from the word ab, meaning water. Ab means water. For example, Punjab, the place of 5 rivers, 5 water streams. So in this way, ab in Persian language means water. Clear? So in this paragraph we have studied about dynastic powers. Kings wanted to emphasize their moral right to be rulers. Clear? So this way the temples were very important places of politics as well. It was widely believed that the rule of a just king would be an age of plenty when the heavens would not withhold rain. At the same time, making precious water available by constructing tanks and reservoirs was highly praised. Sultan Iltutmish, remember the thing, won universal respect for constructing a large reservoir just outside Delhi, Kunha. It was called Hose Sultan, Hose Sultani or Hose Khas. Hose Khas, King's Reservoir, also known as King's Reservoir. You have to remember this thing. So we can easily find in the map. Sometimes these tanks and reservoirs were part of a temple, mosque. But not the small tank in the Jami Masjid in figure 7 it is shown, or a Gurudwara, a place of worship and congregation for Sikhs in figure 8. Now we'll see the figure number 8. Harmandir Sahib, it is also known as Golden Temple with the Holy Sarovar tank in Amritsar. See this image. This is the image of Golden Temple or Swarna Mandir situated in Amritsar. Golden Temple. It was completed in the late 16th century by Guru Arjan Dev, situated in Punjab. Why were temples targeted? As we studied about some temples situated in southern India and built by different kings. So during the attack, the kings used to attack on each other's areas and their empires. So they also were attacking on these kinds of temples. So because kings built temples to demonstrate their devotion to God and their power and wealth, it is not surprising that when they attacked one another's kingdoms, they often targeted these buildings. In the early 9th century, when the Pandya's king Shrimara Srivallabha invaded Sri Lanka and he defeated Sena first, the king Sena first, he defeated. Then the Buddhist monk and chronicler Dhammakatti noted he removed all the valuables, the statues of Buddha made entirely of gold in Jewel Palace, and the golden images in various monasteries. All these he seized. The blow to the pride of the Sinhalese rulers. Sinhalese rulers were in Sri Lanka, had to be avenged. And the next Sinhalese ruler, Sena II, he was Sena first, who was defeated by Pandya king, and Sena II ordered his general to invade Madurai, the capital of Pandyas, and his main motive was to get back that Buddha statue and a special effort to find and restore the gold statue of the Buddha. Similarly, in the early 11th century, when Chola king Rajendra I built a Shiva temple in his capital, he filled it with prized statues seized from defeated rulers. Because he annexed surrounding areas and then he got many statues he restored there. An incomplete list included a sun pedestal from the Chalukyas, Ganesha statue, and several statues of Durga, a Nandi statue from the eastern Chalukyas, an image of Bhairava, a form of Shiva, and Bhairavi from Kalingas of Odisha, and a Kali statue from Palas of Bengal. So these things you have to remember. Sultan Mahmud of Ghazni, invaded in the 10th century, was a contemporary of Rajendra I. During his campaigns in the subcontinent, he attacked the temples of defeated kings and looted their wealth and idols. Sultan Mahmud was not a very important ruler at that time, but by destroying temples, especially the one at Somnath temple, right? Somnath temple was attacked in 1025 AD, and he tried to win credit as a great hero of Islam. In the political culture of Middle Ages, most rulers displayed their political might and military success by attacking and looting the places of worship of defeated rulers. In this way, figure 9, this is the Mughal Chahar Baghs. The Chahar Bagh in Humayun's tomb, Delhi, 1562-1571, and this one is the draft of terraced Chahar Bagh at Shalimar Gardens, Kashmir, 1620 and 1634 it was built, right? And this one, last one, is the Chahar Bagh adopted as a riverfront garden at Lal Mahal Bari, 1637. So dear students, in this way today's part or the topics are completed. So whatever we have discussed, try to understand by reading the text and watch this video again. If you have any doubt, you can ask me by writing in the comment box. Thank you. Have a nice day.